Welcome back to the kitchen. I'm Sue and this is Blue Heron Hill. So what are you going to do with all of those sweet potatoes that you harvested this fall? So I hope you cured them nicely, and that's what I thought I would do today. I picked out a few tubers from my stash down in my basement. I store them down there. It's cool, it's dark, and I hope they'll last me for a bit of time. I chose some medium to small ones. I'm gonna save those large ones for some other recipes that I have planned. So make sure you click that notification bell so you get notified when I post another sweet potato video. So what we have to do with these is clean them up. We've got to scrub all that dirt off, anything that's been sitting on them since you harvested them. Now I hope you didn't clean them beforehand. That's very important, not to scrub off all that dirt. It's a protective layer. The skin at that point in time is tender, and you just erase all of that beneficial covering to cover that sweet potato, and it'll lose a lot of moisture. Anyway, it wouldn't store as long. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over to the sink and scrub these up. Okay, now they're all washed up. Important to dry them thoroughly. You don't want the wet sweet potatoes going into the oven. I'm gonna cut the ends off, maybe about an inch on each. Okay, there are a couple ways we can do this. We can make them into wedges, or we can make them into, long kind of straws, squared up straws. I think I'm going to do wedges because these are pretty irregular, and I'm not going to be able to make them in uniform pieces. When you do cut them up, I like to keep them on the small side, a 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch, something like that. It seems to work in the cooking process and the browning process, so they aren't in the oven for a huge amount of time. So I'm going to cut them in half, and then cut them in half again, and maybe each one of this size into a little wedge. You can see that. And I'll continue to do these with all of these. Okay, into the bowl they go. And I will continue cutting these up into little wedges. Now some of these wider ones, I think maybe I will just cut them down the middle like this. Give them more of that fry. And this is what we've got. Now we're going to do a step that is, I don't know if it would be controversial or not, but some people don't do this step, but I do. I am going to add some cold water. There we go. Some people don't find a need to. The theory is that this will draw out some of the starchiness of the sweet potato. So I'm just going to let it set here for 30 minutes or so, give or take, and then I'll be back and I'll show you the next step. 30 minutes are up, and so I am going to drain these over in a colander. See, you can see a little bit of the starch. I don't know if you can see that in the bowl, that milkiness. So we took a little bit of that out. I'm going to rinse it. Now it's time to dry these off really, really well. So we are going to be putting oil on it, and oil and water do not mix. So, now after they're all dried off, I'm going to put them back in a bowl. I'm going to drizzle them with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. There you go. All very well coated. Now the magic ingredient I use is cornstarch. So I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of cornstarch right onto my sweet potatoes. And again, we're going to mix them up. Get in there with your hands if you wish. We've mixed this up so the cornstarch has just about disappeared. It's leaving a little coating on the fries. Now for seasoning, I'm going to be using a half a teaspoon of paprika and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And again, mix it up. Now I have a baking tray that I put parchment on, and that's just so they aren't going to stick to the tray. Spread these out in an even layer. You don't want them overlapping. So they're all evenly coated with the seasoning in roughly a single layer. We don't want them piled on top of each other. I'm going to turn my oven on to 425. Okay, preheated oven. Fries are going in. They're going to be in there for about 25 minutes. After that, we'll take them out. We'll flip them with a spatula and then put them in for another, at least 10 minutes. We'll just take a look at them, see what they're like. If we want a little bit more browning on them, we'll leave them in there just a little bit longer. So we'll be back when these come out. Timer's up. Time to take it out of the oven. Okay, so far so good. And now we have to flip these over and roast them up on the other side. Okay, now they go back in the oven for another 10 minutes. Time's up. Lovely. Although, I think they may need another 5 or 10 minutes. I like to get a little brown on them. That way they're guaranteed to be crispy. Okay, back in the oven for another little bit. Okay, let's take it out of the oven. It's been 5 minutes. Oh, perfect. Okay, now, next step. Kind of important. I'm just going to take the whole parchment paper and pull it right onto a rack so it cools. You get the cooling from the top and underneath. If you leave it on the tray, it's going to get a soggy bottom. So this is the way you stop that. What I also wanted to talk about was, why do you put cornstarch on here? Well, cornstarch is kind of like a crisping agent. We put the oil there, the cornstarch stuck then to the fry, and it's a crisping agent. Now, if you don't want to use cornstarch, you can use arrowroot or potato flour or something like that. That would work. So I'm going to let these cool for about 5 minutes. I'm so tempted to eat one. But first, I'm going to take a little bit of salt and I'm going to just sprinkle it lightly. You don't need salt if you don't want to. And while I'm waiting for the 5 minutes, or actually before, I mixed up a little dipping sauce with some homemade mayo. And if you don't know how to make homemade mayonnaise, it really does not take a lot of effort. It's so much easier and so much better than the store-bought. So I have about a 1/4 cup of mayo in here. I put in 1 diced up clove of garlic, more if you like more garlic. And then I put in a little chili pepper in here. So not too much. Actually, I used some ancho chilies, so dried. So it's not too spicy. So when these cool in 5 minutes, which is now less than 5 minutes, we'll do a taste test. Okay, I think they're ready. Oh, nice and crispy. I mean, they are floppy. Sometimes sweet potatoes get a little floppy. Very good. They stand up very nicely. And the sauce is very good too. With or without the sauce. Wonderful. So I find that this is the perfect way to make sweet potato fries. I tried for a long time and they'd be too mushy, I'd be too wimpy, and I couldn't get a crisp on them, but it's the cornstarch that helps with that. Thanks for following me on this video, cooking these sweet potato fries. I have a few more ideas that I'm going to pass out to you in future videos. So click that notification bell and you will be notified when I release the next video. If you haven't already, subscribe for more of this content and comment down below. Do you have a favorite sweet potato recipe? I'd love to hear it. And so until the next time that we can go digging in the dirt, we'll be cooking in the kitchen. So, happy days. Bye.